I think it's important for technology firms to understand the structure of the landscape and where they fit in. And what I've tried to do is provide a framework to understand the different kinds of technology players and help technology firms understand where they fit in which category they belong. We have broadly categorized the market into four types of technology providers. I call them the custodians, the enablers, the arbitrageurs, and the innovators. And I'll briefly explain what I mean by each of these terms. Custodians are the ones that have control over the technology workflow and the underlying data. And a classic example of this would be electronic health record firms like Epic and Cerner in the context of healthcare providers. Enablers are companies that have built platforms that can be implemented and that can be used to build customized digital experiences for different industries and different use cases. In the context of healthcare, if you look at companies like Salesforce Health Cloud, GE Health Cloud, IBM Watson Health, these are all technology platforms that enable their users to build experiences and configure them for different use cases. Arbitrages are companies that rely on some form of arbitrage to create value for their customers. And these are typically the consulting firms and technology services firms. And the type of arbitrage that they rely on could be skills arbitrage, it could be labor arbitrage, it could be information arbitrage. If you take the example of your India heritage technology firm, it's a great case of how they have used labor arbitrage as a means to create and deliver value to their customers. That's been the predominant model for them over the last couple of decades or so, although that is changing. But that's an example of how the arbitrageurs work. The final category here is the innovators, and these are companies that have a whole new way of doing things. They have built digital platforms and experiences that solve for specific problems and solve it in very unique and very differentiated ways. They approach problems very differently. They make use of emerging technologies and they make use of emerging data, and they solve problems in very innovative ways. A great example of this is a company that's featured extensively in the book, Validic, and whose CEO, Drew Schiller, is quoted extensively in the book as well. And so this is an example of innovators. So these are the four categories briefly. And if you read through the chapter, I talk about great many examples and how different companies are playing in this space and how they're creating value for their customers. And some of them sit in more than one category, or maybe there are companies that have one part of the company sitting in one category and another sitting in another category. But you read the book, you'll get some really good insights into how these companies fit. And if you're a technology provider, you really want to understand this to understand where you fit in the marketplace.